Shalom. Call halal Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem Kodash. Double honors to the elder apostles of GMS, including the elders that came before them that taught us the truth. Shalom and salutations to all the brothers out pushing the word in truth and sincerity. All right, this lesson, is going to be on the chariots. I saw an interview, and when it started out, it sounded like this guy was on point, and then after the first 10 minutes, then he started spiraling downward, let's say. But I thought that it would be good to, just kind of review in the spirit, and as the spirit moves, I'll grab a scripture and prove all things. So let's start right here with Psalm 68 and 17. All right, King James, it's the chariots of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai are 20,000, even thousands of angels. Okay, the Lord is among them as in Sinai in the holy place. Now, the Lord being among them is the Lord Yahweh Shai, all right, who was there, marching us through the protecting us, as heirs. He had air support, and yeah. So let's watch this, and I'll stop it periodically. We won't go through the whole thing, but we'll get through the good part, because he just starts going into demons and aliens and stuff like that. But at first he starts out, letting you know that he's probably watching the prophets, because and then shortly after that, then he turned straight into a bug out. But anyway, his name is Ali Sadatan, Dayton, or Sly Dayton, whatever. All right, this is Nino Rodriguez right here, the boxer. UFOs, angels, and gods, the war of the heavens. Now he's gonna go in when he breaks down heaven or the heavens. He starts with the sky. When he said that, I'm like, oh, this guy knows a little something, right? But then, because Nino kept, nudging him towards, the cunningly devised fables, and then by the time that we're going to stop, this is almost an hour. By the time we stop it, he'll be full blown into, what do they call them? Lizards and, grays and things of that sort, which have an explanation as well. You have to understand that this devil, Esau, the so-called white man, is trying to emulate the Most High. And when you deal with things like Roswell and Area 51, that's all a Nazi program. NASA is actually Nazi, okay? And they were working on their chariots, man-made chariots in Nazi Germany, and they brought those programs over to Area 51. And today they have what is known as the Space Force, okay? And they're going to mention all of this stuff in here, but you have to be able to separate and differentiate the two programs that are going on. You got the program of the Most High, and I know I'm rambling, but you got the program of the Most High with chariots that never crash, that never, lose a battle, if you will. All right, and then the ones that crash are obviously this devil trying to fool you, right? And when they speak of abduction, okay, when you speak of abduction, that's man-made, all right? Yes, Yahweh Shai was abducted. Yes, Elijah was abducted. Yes, Enoch was abducted, all right? But you got Esau trying to emulate the Most High. So he's going to make up his own abductions. And his abductions have to do with witchcraft, mind control, magic, things of that sort to make you think that you were abducted because he's trying to be the most up. All right, so let's watch this and then we'll break some of this stuff down and explain it. All right, here we
go. All right, so let's get into this. Your documentary is at thinkagainproductions.com, or people can find it on YouTube. It's an amazing documentary. It kind of relates everything with the Bible. And I don't know where you want to start with this. How do you want to kick this off? I always ask my guests, how do you want to kick off this conversation? Because there's a wealth of information. There's tons to talk about. So how do you even want to start this conversation?
Now, I think Nino is actually a Jake. Okay, I think he's a Jake, but he's definitely on the side of Esau Edom. So keep that in mind as we move forward.
Well, I think a good place to start is the UFOs themselves.
Okay.
Because it's something that people are actually seeing in the world, in important people in government and people we trust are talking about it, friends, family. I had a UFO sighting close up, which started the whole thing, actually. That's what really took me into the research. I was shocked. I was like, what? This is for real? And so looking into the Bible, someone brought to my attention that, actually in the Bible, there seems to be talk about these vehicles. And there's ancient astronaut theorists like Eric von Daniken, he wrote The Chariots of the Gods. And, Zacharias Sitchin, these guys, this was in the 1990s. And these guys believed that civilizations had been visited in the past, and they talked about it in their writings and in their drawings and all that.
Okay, so right away he goes into von Daniken, he goes into Sitchin. Okay, Sitchin being who did he speak on? The Anunnaki, and von Daniken was dealing with chariots. Okay, and these are Edomites, right? And they're pushing their disinfo, if you will, all right, or what they believe they're dealing with, and they're going away from Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, all right. So I mean, as soon as you mention those names, then a big red flag goes up, all right, because those are disinformation, highly paid, right, famous, if you will. They wouldn't be famous if this was a part of the scheme, all right. So keep that in mind. He's going to name a few others, and we'll speak on them too. But anybody who has a level of fame, that fame was signed off on, if you will. Okay, that's how you get fame, is you have to be with their program, and then they'll elevate you, or what they call promote, or get a promotion, or put you out on the world stage. Here we
go. And someone brought to my attention that the Bible also had things like this. When I started to look into these passages, I realized, wow, the way the Bible talks about angels is very different than the way that the cultural perspective is. That comes from paintings, men with wings, with bird-like wings, little boys, Cupid-looking creatures. The Bible talks about vehicles. It actually, the word used is translated as chariot into English, but the Hebrew rechev actually means something you ride, a vehicle. The only reason people translate it as chariot is because until the modern age, there was no other vehicle but a chariot.
So they had no point of reference. They had no way to relate to it, so they just put wings on the depictions, right?
This is a full 3 months of food without...
Slovakia. As advertising.
Yeah, I think that this was their way of saying they're flying here when it comes to the paintings, They're like, yeah, they get here somehow, let's put wings on them. But in the imagination of the culture, that became the way we think of angels. So in the text, like the prophet Elijah is taken up in a chariot of fire and horses of fire. And there are many, many other instances of these things in the Bible. And I thought, wait a second, that's interesting. And usually people turn these characters in the Bible into aliens. But for me, I was going to respect the text. So I was, okay, wait, so they're not aliens. This is actually how angels come and go.
Okay, so right here, I was like, oh, okay, well, this guy's on point. He must be listening to the prophets, right? and he's doing good. So I was interested in what he was saying, and then the red flags started coming up. So we'll listen to a little bit more. And he looks to be a Ishmaelite with his name and what he looks like. So not saying that he can't be a Jake. He might be. I mean, he could be a speckled bird, but the way he goes off, he's a disinformationalist. He's writing books, and they approve the book, so he's pushing out these lies. Because if he came right out and said what's actually going on, those angels have a function, right? And we'll get into that, Lord willing, when the precepts come.
And that made the Bible a lot more real to me, at least. Suddenly, the idea that God and his angels could come and, take Israel out of Egypt, give the law.
And that was another thing. He kept saying Israel. He kept, he was on point. He kept bringing up Israel, and them being the chosen and all of that. He never went into who they are, but he was on point to a degree. So I was listening. He had my ear.
And have all kinds of interactions with the human world, looking into the galaxies, looking through the telescope of Galileo. I was like, wow, this can actually happen. I can see now that this could be very real. So that was the first connection, was that the UFOs, they are not a new thing. They have been documented throughout the ages, and the Bible's perspective on them is that they're actually what we would call angels. Darwin comes, and the new scientific age comes, and we're told, hey, the universe is a big place of gas and stones and rocks and dwarves and exploding galaxies. And we evolved here, and some other people evolved elsewhere, and now they're visiting us. And so the idea of an alien is created for us. But what if really the universe is what the Bible calls the heavens? I mean, that's what the heavens means in the Bible. The heavens, the word heavens, shamayim, means actually in the Bible, has three meanings. It can refer to the sky.
Oh, the sky. And there was a war in heaven. In that scripture, it refers to the sky. All right. And when he said that, I'm like, this guy's got some knowledge.
Is created for us. But what if really the universe is what the Bible calls the heavens? I mean, that's what the heavens means in the Bible. The heavens, the word heavens, shamayim, means actually in the Bible, has three meanings. It can refer to the sky, where the birds fly. So in English, we go, it's talking about the sky. Let's put the word sky. But it's the word shamayim. Then it refers to the area where the sun, the moon, and the stars are located. Sometimes the word shamayim is referring to that, and we call that universe. And then sometimes it refers to the temple at the heart of time and space where God resides. So suddenly I was like, wow, so the Bible actually does talk about the universe. It talks about the Pleiadians, a constellation. It talks about different constellations, for instance, the book of Amos and the book of Job. And I'm like, wow, the Bible really talks about the universe, and it talks about these vehicles and these beings that come and go. So maybe these are not aliens. Maybe this is the true nature of reality.
So, I mean, he was saying some things that, show you that he's got some knowledge, right? And then the more he talks, the more he starts revealing that he's actually a bug out. So
the earth is ours. These are the hosts of the heavens, and we are the hosts of the earth. And this is not the universe. This is the heavens. Now, what is it exactly? Well, we don't know, because we don't even know where we are. I mean, where is the universe? We don't have a larger context. We don't know.
Yeah, and a lot of people, when we start having this talk, especially my audience, there's a lot of people that are open-minded on it. But there's a lot of people like, oh, this is blasphemy. They can't be talking like this. Aliens are demonic. They're demonic. They're the demons. It's a demonic presence. Abductions are demonic. What do you have to say to those people? I guess we could say, and there's two parts of this question. There's that, and then
what if you could get rid of your kitchen garbage at the push of a button? Hey, I'm Matt from Pila, and I want to introduce you to my friend Lomi. At Pila, we're a team of engineers and material scientists, and we believe that waste can be designed out of your daily life. For the last 3 years, we've been creating something truly special, a solution to the world's garbage problem. Now, before I show you how Lomi is going to change the world, let's talk about why you're going to want one in your home. Maybe you live in a big city and have a green bin program. You know, those pesky little plastic bins with leaky bags.
Slock, yeah. Let's continue on.
Heaven. You know, you say it's what's galactic, right? It would make sense. It's the universe. I always wondered, how could there be a war in heaven if heaven is a perfect place? But it makes sense to me if they're talking about it galactically.
Yes. Well, even in the English word, it's heavens. It's plural because the Hebrew is plural. Because in the Bible, the word refers to the sky, to the universe, and to the temple at the heart of time and space. And that's why it's plural in Hebrew, because it refers to three different things: the first heaven, second heaven, third heaven. And so that's why in English it's translated as heavens, plural. The first heaven, the Wright brothers, pierced the secret of how to travel in the first heaven with the airplane.
And that's a lie. That's Esau making you believe that he came up with something when he didn't.
Got into 1957 with Sputnik. The Russians sent up the first satellite, and that started the space age. So now we were going into the second heaven, and perhaps there's this idea of go. And when the angels of God come back, so the idea of war, UFOs crashing or Jesus returning with an armada, and the
see that right there, Yahushua returning with an armada. So, I mean, when you're touching on things like that, there's a level of understanding, but then a little leaven at the whole.
First time with the airplane. Then we got into 1957 with Sputnik. The Russians sent up the first satellite, and that started the space age. So now we were going into the second heaven, and perhaps there's this idea of go. And when the angels of God come back, so the idea of war, UFOs crashing or Jesus returning with an armada, and the guys that are here putting up a war with him. Suddenly, it becomes a lot more real. And I think that if it's going to happen in our time, then God is removing the veil, and we're not suddenly seeing it in a way that no other generation before us could have, because we need to see it for what it is, because we're living it. I mean, the UFO phenomenon really kicks off in 1947, and prophetically, the way that the prophecies of the Bible are outlined, it seems that the Middle East and Israel and Jerusalem are very central. And that is the time where Israel becomes a country. Jerusalem becomes a part of the Jewish Commonwealth in 1967.
Wrong. Okay, that was inserted. Just like Roswell 47 was inserted. It didn't really start there. It started further back in Nazi Germany when they were already working on those particular programs, Die Glock, Honeyboo, okay? They were working on those during World War II. Before, during, and after World War II, they were relocated under paperclip. Where did they go? Half of them went to Russia. The other half went where? Area 51. Right out there near Roswell, where they actually hadn't perfected it yet, so you get crashes like Roswell. Right? And it goes even further. Mengele, well, what was Mengele, the angel of death? What was he doing to those experiments on those people and the children, right? So when you get these little green goblins with big eyes and small bodies and all of that, what was he doing to those children? What was their plan? Right? They had some deceiving to do. All right, and we'll get further into that.
So suddenly, we live in the generation where these prophecies could literally occur, and so there's an angelic portion. There's an angelic dimension. Now, as far as your question about abductions and demons and all of that, well,
are all aliens demonic? Most people say that they're all demonic. They're all
aliens. Are all aliens? See how they're stuck on aliens? Satan is an angel. Okay, Satan, the spiritual demon Satan, is a son of God. Okay, and he goes into that. He calls the angels the sons of God, but Satan is one of them. He's just on the left-hand side. All right, he was created as an angel to do work on the left-hand side for the Most High. So, I mean, when they get into this whole alien aspect, right? That's the deception, all right? Because in order to tell a lie, you got to know the truth, and they know at the highest level.
Right. You're saying that's not true, correct?
Yeah, no, exactly. There's two sides. So, first of all, I'm saying they're not aliens; they're angels, and angels are not bird-like creatures, and they're no.
Now, see, he was right there. First of all, they're not aliens, they're angels. Now, later on, he goes into the aliens and what they look like. And I'm like, so what are you saying? See, he started out real good, but Nino kept pressing him with these cunningly devised fables, and then he fell right into it. He starts agreeing with what Nino is saying. Nino's pressing his, you can tell he's just a dumbass boxer. And no offense on boxers, but he's an athlete. Okay, that's what he is. In boxing, how many shots to the head do you take before, and doesn't not that it doesn't take a genius to be a boxer or whatever, but you could just see he's a meathead. All right.
And demons and all of that. Well,
Are all aliens demonic? Most people say that they're all demonic. They're all of them.
Right.
You're saying that's not true, correct?
Yeah, no, exactly. There's two sides. So, first of all, I'm saying they're not aliens; they're angels, and angels are not bird-like creatures, and they're not ghosts. They are in the way that, like the one that rolls the tomb of Jesus and sits on it. Why would the scripture say and he sat on it? Well, it's emphasizing the fact that it's physical. He sat on the tomb. Angels, slay the army of the Syrians. Well, you could meet one unaware, it says, and you should be hospitable, we're told. So you could be entertaining an angel that comes to your house. So definitely, and nowhere does it say in the Bible that angels just take this shape to visit us. It doesn't say that. That's an assumption we've made. So first of all, we're not in the universe. We're in the heavens and on the earth. This is the host of the heavens. We're the host of the earth. And God is in the midst of his creation, and these guys come and go. And we call them in English angels, but in the Bible they have many different names. Angels just is a function they fulfill, which means messenger. But that's only one of the functions. In the Bible, they're called the sons of God.
If you want to eat healthy.
Slovakia for the commercials. Trying to get through some of this, and then we'll get to the precepts. Bear with me.
They're called the gods of the nations. And they're also called the Malakim, which means the ones that bring a message. So in Greek, it's translated as angelus, angels. But that is only one function. So there's this whole armor. Now, what the book of Revelation tells us is that 1/3 have rebelled against God.
Here's where he goes on. He's spiraling quick because the angels don't rebel against the Most High. Okay? No, they don't. All right? That 1/3, right, is getting into something entirely different.
And have an agenda, and they have a leader. We don't know his name. He has different titles. The adversary, Lucifer. These are his titles. And
he's talking about the 1/3. That's the third part of man is Esau. He's the devil. He's Satan. He's the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan on the earth. Okay.
He wants to be worshipped as God, and he wants to be the number one principle of the creation. And
now that's talking about Esau. Okay, let's talk about the so-called white man in the physical. Now, the third of the angels that left their estate. Let's talk about the elect who came down here on an undercover mission. Right? They were there in the beginning. It says, in the beginning, the gods, right, Elohim, created the heavens and the earth. Well, that's the 1/3, right? So what he's equating that 1/3, well, they rebelled against God and staged a coup and got kicked out of heaven. No, all right. Now, the fallen angels, if you will, are the sons of God, starting with Adam and the fall, and then later on becoming the Israelites. All right. So it's easy to be confused, but the elect won't be deceived. All right. So
Adam I guess, as competition, because God had made Adam to be his image bearer, to rule and judge and bring his instructions to the creation. We don't know how vast this thing is. We don't know what's beyond the universe. We know very little. And so Satan decided to take us out. Now, when I looked into the modern day UFO phenomenon, once I realized this thing is real, I started to see if there was any good research about it. And I discovered that some of the top researchers were Ivy League professors. There was David Jacobs from Temple University, Johnny Mack, head of psychiatry from Harvard, Bud Hopkins, a very prominent artist.
Okay, there's some more names that he just dropped. Edomites. Bud Hopkins is a Looney Tune. These other guys, what? Professors and whatever. Professors in what? In pseudoscience. All right? Folklore, mythology, things that you were taught at the university, right? Lies. All right, so a little more and we'll go ahead. And they went into abductions and things of that sort, and we'll get into that as well.
And others, J. Allen Hynek.
J. Allen Hynek was on top of Project Blue Book. All right, so he worked for, I believe it was the Air Force in the military industrial complex. And I mean, basically, he was on a wild goose chase, and if he said anything that remotely resembled the truth, he'd be shut down and killed. Okay, all right, so a little more.
Incredible researcher. These guys had looked into it deeply, and there was tons of information that was brought out before the digital age, before all the magic that people can create with their cameras. And so it seemed that the UFO phenomenon focused on this weird thing called abductions. And that was the heart of it, actually. So once I researched it, I'm kind of giving you the short version here. People can watch the documentary. So I interviewed Dr. Jacobs, who was the foremost researcher of abductions. And so people are saying they're getting abducted and hybrids are being created. And that then brought another part of the Bible to life. If the reality of UFOs brought the chariots or vehicles of the angels to life, the hybrids brought this idea of the giants of old.
Okay, see, now he's completely hitting the ground. All right, he's completely dragging on the ground. He goes into hybrids, and what he's going to say, oh, the sons of God mated with the women, and now you're going off. Okay, first of all, angels don't have sex. Okay, and those sons of God are talking about the people God's chosen who eventually became the Israelites.
Nephilim to life. Suddenly, I was reading the book of Genesis, the sons of God, and had relations with the daughters of men, and they.
There it is. Okay, so let's stop there. All right, hybrids. There are no hybrids. All right, there's the one. You are who your father is, and the sons of God are Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And Jacob's name was changed to Israel. That's how we became God's chosen, the Israelites. All right, so good enough. Let's start with Honeyboo. All right, let's start with Honeyboo because we have to explain this thing, okay? Because Satan, let's start here. Let's get a precept, okay? Salakia. We are not ignorant. And this is the appropriate precept, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. What devices? Okay, well, let's start with Honeyboo. All right. Let's see if I spelled it right. What comes up? I type in Honeyboo, and what comes up? Salakia. What does it say? Nazi flying saucers. Legendary Nazi UFO. Is it real? Okay, what is this about? Okay, so this predates Roswell. Okay, what's this? It's the Grand Cross. What is Hanibu? If there's a name for it, mysterious genius who patented the UFO. Now these are Esau's, okay, creations, man-made. Look at this. What is this? What were they doing in Nazi Germany? Let's look at this.
Been using these for months now. I wasn't sure what to expect, but once I tried these, I never went back.
Let's watch this. So this is a video where they're in Nazi Germany and they're finding these relics of, these what do you call it, where you manufacture, these manufacturing stations, all right? Discovering metal and detecting, okay? So don't really want to watch that, but goes into something. Just look at the picture, all right? That's plans and things of that sort. These are models that they have. People that are into models. Squadron, Malibu. Let me try to find one. So it's a fact that they were building what they call flying saucers in Nazi Germany. Why? Because they're trying to duplicate what the Most High had. They didn't just start seeing these things. These things go back into antiquity. So of course he's going to try to copy the Most High. Let's see what this is right here.
This video is sponsored by Keeps. Near the closing hours of World War II, the Nazis started to experiment with more unconventional aircraft designs and technologies that some would consider unnatural. With the ability to fly in any direction at a moment's notice, invisible to radar, and the ability to launch guided missiles, this new flying saucer would have changed the tide of war. The question remains, did the Nazis ever actually build a UFO? And what happened to the project? Hold on to your disbelief for this extra spooky Halloween spectacular at Found and Explained. UFO. Those three letters provide more excitement and more controversy than any other letters in the English language. UFOs, or unidentified flying objects, are the stuff of legends and speculation the world over, not to mention the stuff of heated debates and alleged government cover-ups that have spanned decades now. But before you start to wonder if you're somehow on the wrong channel, or if I've suddenly changed my focus from aviation to conspiracies of the alien variety, just relax. This video will still be about aviation, just aviation with a slightly more paranormal twist. As you may have guessed, the topic will be about UFO planes, or rather, UFO-inspired aircraft. Perhaps it shouldn't be too surprising that it was the Nazi Germans that were believed to have first tinkered seriously with the idea of UFO craft. After all, the evil empire, or the Third Reich, had a propensity for daft, even maniacal ideas, which was evident in some of the completely bonkers technology that they tried to invent. So it's not a stretch to imagine the demented Nazis making efforts to produce an alien-like aircraft.
Okay, so this is a matter of public record, all right? Let's get Die Glock, because Hanibu, right, which is what, basically they keep showing, comes from this, the bill, D-I-G-L-O. See how it just comes up, all right? All in German. Let's see where this takes us, okay? Hitler's anti-gravity machine, okay? Black Ops, zombies, God damn it. right, so let's just quickly look at this. All right, and this is that's a video game. It looks like Fly Trap.
What can I tell you about Surfshark? Well, it's fast and easy to use. It's jam-packed with features that go way beyond the basics. It secures your data with industry-leading measures. Moon aboard this fantastic anti-gravity machine. The description, enter the code Mark Felton to receive an 83% discount and 3 extra months for free. Did the SS perfect an anti-gravity machine at the end of World War II? Could Nazis teleport between dimensions? Did Hitler escape to the moon aboard this fantastic craft? Don't be alarmed, I'm not self-medicating, but rather repeating some of the claims that have been made in the popular media and on the internet concerning a device known in German as Die Glocke, or in English, the bell, the existence of which is a hotly contested topic. As an historian, I've decided to seek out the truth behind the headlines and discover whether Die Glocke was a real machine, or whether the story is, as some suggest, bovine excrement. Die Glocke exists against a background of real history that is fairly astounding and historically indisputed. German scientists and engineers created a plethora of highly advanced machines that to a World War II audience would have seemed to be almost from the pages of science fiction. They built jet fighters like the Messerschmitt Me-262. The rocket interceptor, the Bachem Natter. The V-1 robot bomb. The V-2, the world's first practical ballistic missile, and plenty more besides. And all these weapons were built by a sinister, secretive regime that used slave labor and inhabited a world of vast underground bases worthy of a James Bond novel. In short, Nazi Germany was fertile ground for exaggerating historical truth.
Okay, now understand that this program was brought to the United States and placed at Area 51. All right, out there in the desert, very near Roswell.
Die Glocke entered the public consciousness in 2000 in a book that spawned several more examining this phenomenon. All were in agreement that the man who created Die Glocke, or at least was administratively in charge, was SS Obergruppenführer Dr. Hans Kammler, the sinister head of the V for Vengeance weapons program. Fortunately for all concerned, Hans Kammler was straight out of central casting, an almost comic book Nazi villain who managed to disappear into thin air at war's end in May 1945, never to be seen again.
Okay, so 45 is when the war ended. When did Roswell happen? 47. Okay, so if they were already working on this stuff, then we're relocated to Area 51. Okay? So we're developing a timeline and seeing what this stuff is really about. Did the Most High give them a little technology? Of course he did. All right. Did he give them the technology to be able to rival the Most High and the angels? Absolutely not. Okay, so let's see if we can find this. All right. Now that we've established that this devil is making his own chariots, right? Let's see, okay, well, let's get a couple of precepts. Let's get 2 Timothy's 2 and 12. Let's see. Because we're gonna look into what they call abduction. All right, let me see. 2 Timothy, Slovakia. This is not 2 Timothy. Second, what is it? Kings. So look. 2 Kings. Now this is classic abduction. All right. 2 Kings 2 and 9. And it came to pass when they were gone over that Elijah said unto Elisha, ask what I shall do for thee before I be taken away from thee. There's the abduction right there. He knew, before I be taken away from thee. And Elisha said, I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon me. And he said, thou hast asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if thou see me when I am taken from thee, it shall be so unto thee. But if not, it shall not be so. And it came to pass, as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire. Okay? Or what you would call today a UFO. And horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. Now here's the abduction. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. All right? And Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariot of Israel. There's their name. The chariot of Israel, and the horsemen thereof. All right? So there's your proof in the scriptures, what's going on. There's your abduction. Let's get another one. Yahushua. Let's go to the book of Acts. What does the ascension mean? All right? This is Yahushua, Acts 1 and 9. And when he had spoken these things while they beheld, he, who is he? Yahushua was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. He was abducted. Who was abducted? Yahushua. Right? And while they looked steadfastly towards heaven as he went up, behold, two men stood by them in white apparel, two angels, which also said, ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing into heaven? This same Yahushua, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall so come, as in second coming, shall so come in like manner as ye have seen him go into heaven. Let's get the second coming real quick. Revelation 1 and 7. Behold, he cometh, second coming, with clouds. And a cloud received him out of the sun. What is this cloud? Let's get that real quick. This is the book of Psalm 1 and 4. These are attributes of the Most High Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Bless the Lord, O my soul. O Lord, my power, thou art very great. Thou art clothed with honor and majesty, who covers thyself with light as with a garment, who stretchest out the heavens like a curtain, who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariot, who walketh upon the wings of the wind, who maketh his angels spirits, his ministers a flaming fire. He maketh the clouds his what? His chariot. Okay? Swing low, sweet chariot. She'll be coming around the mountain. Okay? When she comes. Let's get that real quick. The mountain. She'll be coming around the mountain. Background. The original song was published in old plantation hymns. It ostensibly refers to the second coming of Hamashiach, with the she referring to the chariot that the returning Hamashiach is depicted as driving. Okay, we all know about swing low, sweet what? Sweet chariot. Okay. So it's well documented, all right? Now, abduction. Let's go back to abduction. Let me see if I can find this. All right, there was the famous Betty and Barney Hill, right? Let's see if we can find that. Betty and Barney Hill. That one is Nazi. What does that mean? Betty and Barney Hill. There they are. Okay. Now, what's going on here is Betty and Barney Hill were abducted in the 60s, I believe. So-called abducted. What does it say? What is it like to be abducted by aliens? When Betty and Barney Hill comes up, they're talking about abduction. All right. Well, this kind of abduction is man-made abduction. All right. Let me see if I can find it. Betty and Barney Hill, Nazi ghouls. Let me see if there's anything in here. Or if this is a game or something.
Yeah, but with enough poking and prodding through the subconscious meditated mind, we might be able to seek some of these buried answers and hidden memories in the human mind.
And the reason why they're buried is oftentimes the brain like refuses to go back to them, either maybe because it was too horrifying or maybe it just could not register what it was seeing.
Yeah.
So it just shut them out. So it's kind of a way of getting to those thoughts, right?
It is, I will, playing devil's advocate here, it is slightly under the pseudoscience umbrella.
It's now considered to be a very less than reputable method of doing this. But,
but
at the time, it was cutting edge.
However, I feel like it has some merit to it. I mean, the key to a lot of these stories that we talk about are very, very subjective things and beliefs. That's really what the base of all of this is. Their encounter is extremely subjective because no one else was there. It was them.
No, it's true.
So things like regression therapy.
There was a dog there named Delzy.
Well, he doesn't remember shit.
No, probably not.
But these things, they're helpful because, I mean, even if they're not 100% factual, at least it's something coming from the victim, for lack of a better term. They're not a victim, but in this case, they would be, I guess.
Yeah. We'll get into the victimhood.
I wanted to make sure both sides are represented.
No, yeah, of course. Benny Barney Hill. Who are these people? Right? Who are they?
Who knows?
Who goddamn
They share the
knows?
name of the lovable neighbors of Fred and Wilma.
There you go. Benny, it might be Barney's son because it's Barney Hill Jr.
BHJ?
Yeah.
Big Hamburger Joe?
Big Hamburger, no.
Slovakia for this foolishness, but I'm searching for something here because in the James Earl Jones played Barney Hill in, I forget, it came from out of something. They have a movie, and while in regression therapy, Barney Hill he was describing the so-called aliens, and he was like, well, that one has big eyes in the eyes and all of this, and then he goes, and that one is a Nazi. Now, why would he say that one is a Nazi? Okay, because there was a Nazi there during the program or the MK Ultra regression or whatever they were doing to make them believe that they were being abducted. All right. And it was a man-made thing, is the point that I'm getting at. Let's see if they're going to listen to a little more, see if they get to that part, because they are dealing with mind control. They're speaking on mind control right now. So.
Bill Jr., he was 39 at the time. He was born July 20th of 1922 in Newport News, Virginia. Newport News is the name of the town. I had to look it up. It seems ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I fell into the same trap when I was looking at that.
That can't be not a newspaper. But
there were a couple geographical things in this story that I was like, what?
Like, that's the name of a place?
It really made you think, because they were talking, it's New Hampshire.
Newport News, New Hampshire.
And
Newport News, Virginia. Damn it.
That's
where he was born.
Virginia. It takes place in New Hampshire, though, I believe.
It does.
Correct?
It takes place in New Hampshire. That was a fun fact because they were an interracial couple. That was like one of the most liberal parts of the country at the time.
Virginia was where the CIA is.
So they were very accepted there.
Okay.
That's why.
And it's funny because there's a part where we'll discuss Canada, and for a minute that threw me off when I was reading, because I was like, Canada. What? And I was like,
Ontario.
oh yeah, like geography exists. Like,
Oh yeah, there's other places. That,
like yeah, just because we're in the same country, they were way closer to Canada. 401k, holidays.
You're
Come
friggin'
on.
sick.
It was. They were actually. I was reading this thing. I don't know if I can particularly corroborate it because it was a forum post, but they were talking about where they were from, where they were lived when they were married, and that they were huge,
like
reputable
these
people.
are awesome people. They're reputable people. They know what they're doing. They seem smart.
Yeah, they're definitely.
They're cool.
I would say not. They're definitely not disliked.
Okay, I'm kind of scanning through this. I'm trying to get to the Nazi part.
I mean, there's really no.
September of 1961, Barney had developed an ulcer. Doesn't that suck?
Ugh.
Sounds pain. The night was clear, and the road they were on was dark and secluded, right?
You already got the makings for a spooky ending.
There we go. All you need is some fog.
So okay, bear with me.
When Betty saw what she thought was a falling star in the sky, right? That is until the falling star halted in the sky and began moving slowly back towards the moon.
Okay, now understand that when the Nazis came over, they were working on many things while they were in Nazi Germany, and they brought all of that back with them. One of the main things they were working on was MK Ultra, mind control. MK, that K standing for control, goes back to the Nazis. All right, we spell control with a C. All right, so MK, mind control, right? They were doing that in Nazi Germany before they brought it here. So what else were they working on? They were doing experiments with human beings and with DNA and all sorts of things. What is this devil? What does he do? Well, all of those things are all wrapped up in a ball because what are they doing? They're trying to fool you into believing that their story is true. What is their story? Well, whoever's in those flying saucers are little green men here to do you harm. Well, they are here to do you harm, but they're not little green men. They look like us. So you see where this thing is going? And then the MK Ultra has to do with controlling your mind to repeat these stories, to make you believe that you were actually abducted when it was just a mind control program.
Isn't that freaky? The couple claimed that it was moving like a fly, looking for a place to land.
And I think what's important to do here is put yourself in their situation. Through nowhere.
No, very much so.
You didn't. No one had cell phones. It's not like you.
You know,
true.
That's usually the case.
But I'm definitely getting those kind of vibes. More just like, Betty, look at the road. We're gonna be home. Just don't talk about it.
Eyes front. Just south of Twin Mountains, Betty and Barney stopped at a rest area to let their dog Delzy, who's a cute, adorable little dog, a herd of bears coming up over yonder.
They smell the blueberry chapstick.
Very close to them. It started rapidly descending to the earth in the direction of the couple.
He's got to bring out his inner Paul Walker minus the accidental death.
Bear with me. I'm just kind of
chaos.
Searching.
So, yeah, they're speeding down the road. He stops because he's like, oh, God, it's going to stop us. It's maneuvering to block the road.
In his hand to an alien spaceship.
He's like, I'm putting an end to this right now.
What do you think, given the chance, are the first words he says?
It was fresh with mind at this time.
That's a good call. I was just going to say that.
It was very fresh at the time.
It's not that they resembled the Nazis. It's that this is...
Okay, so there it is. Let me get that part.
Somehow not human. That's a quote from him. Somehow not human.
Okay, let me see.
60 to 80 feet in diameter. As he approaches,
in his hand to an alien spaceship.
He's like, I'm putting an end to this right now.
What do you think, given the chance, are the first words he says?
What
the fuck do you want? Pointing the gun like that is
leave
just,
my family alone.
That is so That's just
It is
awesome.
a badass image. He's just like, you know what? Pulling over,
I gotta check this
gun in
shit out.
hand. I'm going to get it.
I like that a lot.
So he's approaching this huge ass craft, right? It's 60 to 80 feet in diameter. As he approaches, 2 red lights separate from the 2 fin-like structures on the craft, and it tilts towards him, right? So that's never a good sign. That's like it's not a good thing. Barney lifted the binoculars to his eyes and claimed to have seen inside of the craft figures that were somehow not human. That's a quote from him. Somehow not human. Adding later that they moved with the precision of the German military. He specifically said Nazis. Because, it was fresh in everyone's mind at this time.
That's a good call. I was just going to say that.
It was very fresh at the time.
It's not that they resembled the Nazis. It's that this is relatively new after World War II, and it's a great comparison.
It is a great comparison because they looked exactly like it. It's actually fucking weird.
I mean, okay, let's put this into perspective here. Think the year is 2006, and you live in Kansas somewhere.
That's not the reference I was looking for.
But is this city, Missouri?
And I don't know, a plane flies. All right, I like that. I like the uniqueness to this. It's very different than your typical story you hear.
Yeah, right.
I like it.
Right. So apparently, one of these guys that looked like a Nazi.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for. Not they moved like Nazis, but that one guy, and that one is a Nazi, is what he said.
Like coats.
Okay,
with on. Fucking like.
Hold on. Why? Why did he look like a Nazi?
With binoculars, he saw these guys.
He was a Nazi.
Like Nazis. And
wait.
What?
I want to clarify.
Yeah.
You just said they were dressed like Nazis.
Yeah.
They had like Nazi
so
military uniforms.
What they had on were shiny black like coats with fucking like motorcycle hats, like the ones with the spike, and they were black as well.
Okay.
They looked like, and they were very rigid. They were all working very like diligently, but like almost robotic.
They're looking like Kaiser Wilhelm almost. Yeah. That type of
Kaiser Wilhelming it up.
All right. I like that. I like the uniqueness to this. It's very different than your typical story you hear.
Yeah, right.
I like it.
Right. So apparently, one of these guys that looked like a Nazi, he apparently turned like. All right. So in there, he saw a bunch of guys rigidly working behind one guy who appeared to be at a desk. Okay. So I'm assuming that he was probably.
He was the
driving.
Milton. He was the Milton. He's like, please don't touch my stapler.
See, they're not putting it together. All right. Barney said they're not human. So to go from they're not human, but that one, the one that was running the program, the one that didn't look like an alien, the one that looked like a Nazi, he called him a Nazi. What are the Nazis doing with these spaceships, right? We've proven that they were working on spaceships, and we know where MK Ultra came from, all right? And what is this? This is about planting memories in people's heads, right? Not an actual abduction, but to make you think, okay, that this is what's going on. So this is all man-made, all right? Because the Most High, if he's abducting you, the only people that I see in the scriptures the Most High is abducting are Israelites, or the sons of God, for that matter.
That was Milton.
That was Milton. And apparently when Barney was looking around at him, just kind of getting a better look, one of them turned around and smiled at him, gave him a little smirk,
Isn't that fun? It's just like, hey, I don't know.
It's like, I know you're watching.
To me, it's the same thing as picture a bunny rabbit in your yard, and it's out. You walk outside, you're aiming a gun at it, and it just looks at you, and you just smile. That's what it feels like, because this alien is just like, it knows. It knows.
Like, look at that.
It's looking at Barney. It knows that he's afraid.
Yeah. So Barney, he got a terrible feeling, and something terrible was going to happen. Like you do. but was so paralyzed by fear that it took everything in his power to tear the binoculars away from his eyes. He then started racing back to his car. And it's weird because like later, when they recollect these things through regression and all that,
Through regression. Okay. You hear what's going on? This is a clinical experiment. This is MK Ultra classic.
like Barney claims that he felt compelled to do all these things, to pull over, to immediately get out, to even approach it. Like he felt compelled to do all these things, and then he like literally could not tear the binoculars away from his face.
Now, earlier when I started this, the first thing they said was Barney had an aneurysm or something like that where he had to go to the hospital. Okay, it's at that point where they can put you under, place these, mind control you, if you will. It starts when you go to the hospital, or when you go to prison, or you go, or something, when you wind up in front of that guy with the coat. Who's the guy with the coat? Well, it's one of these Nazis. Okay? So what do Nazis have to do with what's going on? What are the Nazis doing in the Ukraine right now? That's a better question. What are they doing? All right.
So it's very strange. He said he saw the eyes of the leader, the guy who was behind the desk there,
The Nazi.
And he was like obsessed with his eyes. He's like, those eyes, they were like pushing themselves into my head. They were like, his eyes were inside. Like he was freaking out about these eyes.
That's to push the big-eyed theory. All right. Everything has a purpose.
I feel like he may have been some sort of trance, perhaps.
It comes back to the same thing I said earlier in this episode. The recurring theme in everything in here is it always comes down to some exterior feeling that you have. It's inside, but it almost feels as if something outside of your body is forcing you to feel this nervousness. And
it sounds like in a lot of these cases, it's very sudden and unexpected. So it's like something else must be doing this. It can't just be my brain firing and this feeling immediately arising.
No, absolutely.
So people are externalizing it much with the idea of God, like.
And if you listen to...
And this is Esau, okay, doing what he does. All right, so enough on that. Let me see if there's one more. Because there's actually the movie, American Horror Story, that inspired Asylum. Let's see. I don't think I saw it in there. But in the movie, Barney Hill goes, and that one's a Nazi. Okay. So there's a Nazi connection is what I'm getting at here. All right. And we're putting it together. All right. This is MK Ultra. Let's get that real quick, and then we'll get a couple of precepts, and we'll go ahead and close out. Let's go to Wikipedia, and let's type in what? MK Ultra America Project MK Ultra 53 to 73. I doubt it. ULTRA. Let's see where it takes us. Okay. Project MK Ultra, or MK Ultra, was a code name of an illegal human experimentation program designed and undertaken by U.S. CIA. The experiments were intended to develop procedures and identify drugs such as LSD that could be used in interrogation to weaken individuals and force confessions through brainwashing and psychological torture. Does it say where it came from? They're going to bring it over from Nazi Germany. Let's see. See how they started in 53? I don't think so. I don't think so. Let's see. Soviet, Chinese, scale of project. other related. Look at this. MK often. This is clearly German. Why are they not putting Germany in? So let's do this. Let's go. Nazi. MK Ultra. See if they're going to tell any truth. CIA's secret quest for mind control. Project MK Ultra. We just looked at that. How Nazi scientists inspired the CIA to use LSD. Let's see this. Here we go. From 48 to 53. Okay. Former Nazi scientists and CIA interrogations began to use LSD as an advanced interrogation technique, according to the new book, Operation Paperclip. Okay. How do you get Nazi in there? What do you mean? Former Nazi scientists brought over under Operation Paperclip. Okay. So there's your Nazi connection. What is all of this about? The plan for enhanced interrogation program was meant to be straightforward: drug the spies, interrogate the spies, and give them amnesia to make them forget. Instead, the program produced questionable results, and evolved into one of the most notorious CIA programs of the Cold War, MK Ultra. No, it came from Nazi Germany. A total of 1,600 former Nazis were recruited in preparation for total war with the Soviet Union. Of the 21 scientists followed in the book, 6 of them stood trial at Nuremberg. In other words, these were some of the most maniacally brilliant minds of the genocidal Third Reich, working side by side with American intelligence. So they brought MK Ultra over here. They had already been working on that, right, with those people, right? And they brought that over here. All right, so they're explaining it away. They're not being completely forthright with what's going on. Anyway, there's your Nazi connection, all right, to UFOs, to abductions. Betty and Barney Hill were abducted. That one is a Nazi. Okay? So when you get back to this video that we first watched, okay, all of this stuff has to come into play. What is Roswell? Roswell is about a UFO that crashed. The Most High's chariots do not crash. Whose chariots crash? The Nazis. They didn't perfect that. The Most High is not going to give them a perfected chariot. Okay? They're going to lie about it. Oh, we go back and forth to Mars all the time. That's the devil's job, is to lie. All right? Let's get a couple of precepts over there. Here's an abduction story to come. And we'll end on this, all right? You want to be abducted. Do you not? Being abducted is what it means to be saved. All right? Revelation 11 and 12. And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, okay, who's they? The elect of Israel. Come up hither, not come up Hitler, come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud. They were abducted. Who? The elect. This is what you want. Okay? And their enemies beheld them. They were abducted. This is what we're praying for. This is what it means to be saved. And they heard a great voice from the sky saying unto them, come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud. Okay? What is this? First Thess 4. What is it? 4 and 11. What is it? Oh, it's not gonna let me do it. I think it's 4. Let's walk in. It's 1 Thessalonians 4 and 16. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of the Most High. And the dead in Hamashiach shall rise first. Then we, which are alive and remain, shall be abducted together with them in the clouds, shall be caught up together with them in the cloud to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. All right, so they're trying to make abduction a bad thing and a horrible thing where you're going to meet a little lizard, the reptilians, right, which is all a lie. They created those beings. Mengele. I read something that said, oh, well, Mengele took those children and distorted their features to make them look like abominable beings and made sure that they were seen by the people of Roswell, New Mexico, when they staged that so-called wreck. It was all MK Ultra. It was all mind control so that they can push that story out into the public. The Most High's chariots, they do not fail. Okay. So with that, we hope that this was profitable. We hope that this was edifying to the elect, you brothers and few sisters. And with that, we can say shalom.